Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. So as you'll see, we are starting a new series, but that doesn't mean that we have a new map. We're still in the Magic Towers Resort map right now. But what we're gonna start today is something really quite cool. We're gonna be building a water park. Now, not just a simple water park, of course, you have water parks in all shapes and sizes. We're gonna build a themed water park. So think of some of the water parks that Disney might have, like Typhoon Lagoon and Blizzard Beach. For the Europeans out there, Europa Parks Rulantica. Let's see if I know some other examples as well. Wet n Wild, which I don't think exists anymore. Actually, that last one is not a themed water park. Sorry about that. Volcano Bay, that's definitely a themed water park. There are definitely some out there. They're a bit rare, I guess, but I mean, when they're there, it's quite amazing. Now, water parks are pretty different from theme parks, of course. So, yeah, keep that in mind. We're going to be building some very different things, but nonetheless, it's going to be super interesting. We can go into a lot of detail. We'll still be building all the, themed details. We still get the chance to build some really awesome rides. It's just a different kind of theme park, pretty much, and it's going to be super, super fun. I'm really excited to get started. So we're going to get started in this corner of the map right here. And, the reason for that is that way we have quite a bit of space to actually build this water park. And that way we can connect it up to some of the other facilities that we have inside of the park and make the monorail go up to here. And that way the parking lot wouldn't have to be built on the map itself. We can mostly leave that on the edge of the map, and it kind of just goes outwards from there. So we don't really have to bother with that too much. So yeah, that's the plan for today. And what we're going to be building today is actually the entrance for this water park. I don't think we have a lot more time than that. So, let's actually get started doing that. Welcome to Mystic Lagoon. So there we go. So let's actually start with clearing some space for this entire water park. And I basically started to plan some things out really quickly. Now I do have an idea for what I want to do with this water park and what the main theme of it is going to be. So I'll explain that in just a little bit. But before we get started, I just really quickly wanted to talk about real life water parks. Now, you may not have ever been to a water park, which is pretty understandable, especially if you are in Europe, especially on the more northern side of Europe. Water parks really aren't that common due to the climate, of course, and if there are water parks, they're mostly indoors. And only very recently we have been seeing more and more extreme water slides on this side of the globe as well. So, that's something that you might not have experienced yet. That's something to keep in mind that, even just like the theme park industry, the water park industry is really moving forward as well, coming up with new ride ideas, more extreme slides, and there are some pretty crazy slides out there these days. For example, a very common, modern type slide that we see these days is one where the floor drops from below you, basically, and just drops you right into the slide, and lets you go through the entire slide at a very high speed. It's really quite scary. Now, the water parks that I have been to personally, first of all, kind of includes some of the more tropical swimming pools that weren't very special, for example at Center Parks in the Netherlands, at different places. Additionally, the Tiki Bad in Duinrell, which is a Dutch theme park, which also has a small indoor water park with some really quite fun water slides actually. Now, during my trip to Orlando, I've done plenty of water parks actually, and that includes Disney, Blizzard Beach, Disney's Typhoon Lagoon, Universal's Volcano Bay, and SeaWorld's Aquatica. So those are like 4 water parks that I did in a single trip, and that really, opened my eyes to the whole world of water parks, for a lot of different rides that I'd never experienced before. Now, we do have one in Germany as well, an indoor water park, which is Rulantica, which is part of Europa Park. And that's a really quite fun water park if you are in Europe and in the area of France or Germany. From the Netherlands, it's about a 6-hour drive, so, you know, it's a bit long, but it's really worth going there because it's really well themed. It's completely indoor, so the climate doesn't really matter. And the water slides are really quite fun. There are some pretty extreme water slides with half pipes and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. So that was my most recent trip to a water park, and also a very big inspiration, of course, for me actually wanting to build a water park. So yeah, that's something that I've always really enjoyed, water parks. I don't know, it's just something that I saw being done next to theme parks as well. So I think it's just a nice way to expand the experience. And additionally, I still find some water slides kind of scary, especially the more extreme ones. You know, there's a chance that you might get hurt or something. So it's a bit scary, and that sensation is something that I no longer get with roller coasters, sadly, since I've ridden probably too many of them at this point. So yeah, that's actually really cool that I still get a little bit of more of a thrill factor from these water slides. Now let's actually talk about the idea for this water park and what the theme is going to be and what I had in mind. So I just came up with this, which is also why I immediately started building, which is usually how these episodes go. I might hit a bit of roadblock until I actually have an idea of what I want to build. But luckily I came up with an idea pretty quickly here. So let's actually talk about that. So the idea is that the main pool is gonna represent some kind of lagoon, some kind of lake inside of this well, kind of alien-like planet. Think of it like an Avatar, Pandora area, that sort of stuff. So we're kind of combining some of the themes that you might see in Star Wars and the Avatar, James Cameron's Avatar movie, into one basically, and create a water park around that. Now above this lake, or I should say lagoon, because that's what's in the name of this water park, there's actually a crash-landed spaceship. It kind of leans onto some kind of mountain that's right next to the lagoon. However, it's gonna tip over at any moment. And to prevent that, they've kept the motors running ever since it crashed down. If they don't keep the motors running, it's gonna land inside of the lagoon, and that's gonna have some really big consequences to the surroundings, basically. So that's kind of the story that we're going to be representing here, that we're going to try to tell through the different rides that we find inside of this water park and that the guests will be able to experience as they are visiting this water park. Now this also gives a really cool, you know, kind of like a weenie, because you're going to see the spaceship like hanging right above the lagoon with the engines beneath that being powered on. Maybe they can blow some air onto the pool or have some cool light effects, that sort of stuff. Maybe make some cool sounds, which make it sound like it's almost gonna tip over or something like that. I think you can do a lot of really cool things with that. And also it acts as a really cool point from which we can actually build the slides down the slope again. Now the spaceship is going to be a bit overgrown. It's been there for years now, and they've always kept the motor running, the engines running ever since then. So yeah, that's going to be kind of what we're going to try to do. So we're kind of going to mix this very magical, alien-like environment like we see in Pandora with some of the more high-tech stuff, or some of the, you know, sci-fi kind of thing. So we're kind of going to combine these two, try and get some organic shapes in there like you can see with this entrance building that I'm building right now. So I figured that the roof was going to be very important because we kind of want to make it look flowy, so you kind of get this sense like, alright, you know, something with water is probably at play here. And, you know, that's kind of my, that's kind of, you know, just a starter just to give you an idea of what is to come. Now this entrance is a bit more traditional. The other entrance over at Magic Towers, the theme park, and the first gate that we have in this resort is a bit smaller, probably a little bit too small, but I think the size of this water park entrance worked really quite well, and it's actually kind of inspired by Volcano's Bay entrance, which is mostly just a pretty large circular roof with all the ticket booths in like a half moon kind of shape, all around the edge of that building. And that's kind of what we did here as well, apart from the fact that this roof isn't actually completely circular. It's only above the ticket booths itself. So I think that works pretty well. Now for this monorail station, I'm taking some inspiration from some of the Walt Disney World monorail stations, which sometimes do this really cool thing where they have the roof above the monorail actually continue straight, while the roofs besides that basically go down. And in this case, I made it pretty round, and I think it gives a really cool effect. It kind of makes it look futuristic, you know. And we can later dress this up with some plants and stuff like that, just to really give a little bit more of an overgrown idea. Because, you know, even though there are some sci-fi buildings inside of this area, nature is still at play here, and it still kind of rules. Is kind of what I'm trying to get at. Now, we're not gonna just be building water slides in the side of this area, because there are quite a lot of different water rides that we can actually build within a water park. Now, one really cool one is actually a lazy river. Now, for example, one really cool thing they did at Europa Park's Rolantica is that the lazy river is almost kind of like a dark ride. While you're sitting inside of your tube, you know, going very slowly throughout the entire course, you come across little sections that basically just represent scenes where there are animatronics moving, where there are media elements to show, you know, some additional context, and really really nice looking stuff that you come across actually during the entire trip. And in the end, the entire round trip with the lazy river actually tells a story. And to be honest, if I add all of that together, to me it sounds like a dark ride. So I think we can do something like that inside of this park as well, just to kind of, you know, show this entire story behind this this entire water park, or maybe some of the sub-stories that might be going on inside of this water park. So I think that's going to be really quite interesting, and I think the central theme is going to help us establish some separate stories much better than we might have with a lot of separate themes. And maybe we'll go into a few different themes inside of this park as well. I'm not really quite sure yet. I guess we'll have to find out as we go on. So yeah, you can see that I built just a very small portion of the parking lot, just like I did for Magic Towers, the theme park. And just kind of give the idea that that's where the parking lot is, and it just extends outwards much further. But we don't really care about that too much. So that's about it for the very first episode of Mystic Lagoon. I hope you guys enjoyed. Bit of a shorter episode, but hopefully the next one we can really get started building this water park. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you aren't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye bye!